A very good morning to you students. Welcome to Chanakya Academy online classes, Standard 12 Science, Subject Biology, Chapter number 15, Biodiversity and Conservation. Yes students. So today will be our last lecture for chapter number 15, that is biodiversity and conservation. Okay, so till now we have discussed about various things. Okay, so starting from what is biodiversity, then we did different patterns of biodiversity, or specifically we did the levels where we did the genetic diversity, species diversity and ecological diversity. Okay, then we move further and we saw the pattern of biodiversity, that how latitudinally and how species area wise the ecosystem, or specifically the biodiversity pattern, are there. Okay, in that we saw various regions. Okay, in your textbook they have given many examples of latitudinal gradation. Okay, so please refer to that topics, it's very easy. Okay, they have given example of Colombia, they have given example of Amazon, where various species of plants, fishes, birds, mammal, amphibians, reptiles, invertebrates, all them they have given the example, they have stated the example. Okay, so main points I have explained you, but when you are writing in your exams, more important is that whenever you describe something, describe it by giving examples. Okay, this thing I have explained you many times. Okay, and in biodiversity related topics, okay, specifically ecology, if we talk about ecology, there are thousands and thousands of example which you can give. Okay, so whenever you are writing the content, along with the content state the examples also. Okay, after that we saw about the loss of biodiversity. Okay, in that we discussed that the biodiversity is continuously reducing, the species are continuously reducing. Okay, and after that we saw what are the main causes for them. Okay, what are the causes for biodiversity loss? In that we also did many points like habitat loss, fragmentations, overexploitation, okay, alien invasion, coexistence, all the topic we covered. Okay, still in these topics there are many examples which are given, so please refer to that examples. Okay, then one small topic which I want to add in today's lecture is why should we conserve biodiversity. Okay, till now we are saying okay that the species are continuously becoming less. Okay, but why exactly we need to conserve? The main, if we talk about narrow, if we see, okay, narrowly if we see that there are some trees, okay, which are giving us benefit. Okay, the first point is the narrowing utilization argument for conserving biodiversity are human deserve countless direct economical benefits. Okay, directly we are getting many benefits from them, like food. Okay, there are cereals, pulses, fruits, vegetables which we consume as a food. Okay, then we require firewood, fibers, constructive materials, okay, like linen, dyes, resins. From making perfume also we require these plants. Okay, and there are plants which are used for medicinal importance also. So what we are doing is we are taking something from these plants. Okay, but see, even though we are requiring it, okay, if the drugs they are giving us, okay, the various medicines we are getting from the plants, even though they are giving or benefiting us, their number should remain constant. Okay, this thing we should always keep in our mind. Okay, so nowadays more than 25% of the drugs currently sold in the market worldwide are derived from the plants. Okay, whatever drugs we are using, whatever medicinal plants which we are using, we are deriving it from the plants. Okay, and there are 25,000 approximately species of plants which are contributing to such medicinal plants. Okay, there are many medicinal plants. Tulsi, one of the main medicinal plant which you have heard. Okay, so likewise other medicinal plants are also there which are helping our humankind. So there should be a check, okay, so that their genetic level, their species doesn't get exploited. Maintain them. Okay, so we should conserve these species. As we are getting it, it should be conserved. Okay, and second one is which we should open our mind broadly and think broadly, as in directly they will not benefit us, but indirectly somehow they are benefiting us. Like one important thing that we know, that plants are giving us oxygen. Okay, the atmospheric oxygen, we know that it is approximately 20 percentage in the earth's atmosphere. Okay, and this percentage is maintained only and only by plants. So if we are reducing them, ultimately what will happen? The production of oxygen will get reduced. Okay, so this thing we should always keep in mind. And what they are saying, that the Amazon forest which you have heard, okay, the only Amazon forest which you have, which have can produce approximately 20 percentage of total oxygen in the earth's atmosphere. Okay, so in earth's 20% of oxygen we are getting from the Amazon forest. So if we are continuously reducing the forest, reducing the area of forest by cutting down trees, ultimately the percentage of oxygen will get reduced. Okay, second thing, we know that pollination is a very important factor for a tree or a plant, so that it produces fruits and seeds, and that fruit and seeds we are having. Okay, now that is you can say pollinated by some agents, and these agents also we have seen, like bats, birds, some insects, bees. What they are doing? They are helping in the process of pollination, so that after pollination plant can produce fruit and seeds. Okay, so if these species like bees, birds, bats, butterflies, if these species get reduced, then pollination will not take place, and if pollination will not take place, then the fruits and seeds will not be formed, and we will not get. Okay, so we can say that not directly but indirectly, this ecosystem, this diversity is very important, because each and every plant and animal or microbes which are present on this planet are helping us some or the other way, not directly but maybe indirectly. Okay, so this is the small topic which I wanted to explain. Come to the last topic, that is how to conserve biodiversity. Okay, we have seen the loss, we have seen the causes, and we have seen how drastically, if we are not taking care, what will be the change. Now how can we conserve them? So there are two ways: in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. Okay, so you must have seen that biodiversity, okay, it's a very huge topic. Okay, so if we are saving the tiger in a forest, ultimately what we are doing is we are protecting the whole environment which is around the tiger, and ultimately we are protecting or conserving the whole area by just protecting tiger. So this kind of approach can be called as your in situ conservation. Okay, whereas there are situations where an animal or a plant is endangered, okay, it is threatened, okay, and it needs urgent measure to save it from extinction. So particularly we will be dealing in saving that particular species, and that is called as ex situ conservation. Okay, so in situ, although we are saving a single tiger, but the entire forest will be conserved. And in ex situ, a specific species will be conserved. Okay, so let's see what they are telling us. That conservation, okay, in situ conservation within their habitat, okay, wherever they are living. Okay, suppose a tiger is living in a forest, okay, so in that forest we will protect that tiger, okay, either by creating national parks or sanctuaries. Okay, so creating this national parks and sanctuaries, what we will do, we will protect that particular species. Okay, and government continuously they are using this in situ conservation. Okay, I have given you many examples like lions in Gir forest. Okay, you have seen that government, uh, before 10 years we found that 10 to 15 years ago we found that the lion is number was decreasing. So government what they did was they made a national park which was known as Gir National Park, and this was basically for saving the lions in that particular areas. Okay, because hunters they came, they poached, they killed the lions for their fun, and ultimately what happened, the number get reduced. There were some changes also which was taking place, which was leading for the lions to become dead. Okay, so government make that area or restricted that area and called it as national park, where lions in the natural habitat was saved. And nowadays it is seen that the number day by day, year after year, it is increasing. So government is taking steps in saving such kind of species. Okay, lions, tigers, rhinos. Okay, some trees also, some medicinal plants also, they are helping to grow. Okay, so in plants what they are giving favorable conditions to them, and by giving favorable conditions they can grow well, survive, and the number can be increased. Okay, so this is in situ conservation. Yes, so previously when the government was identifying that which area to protect, okay, so maximum protection area they gave a term called as biodiversity hotspots. Okay, where high level of species richness, okay, richness means many species or many animals were available in that areas which need to be protected. So they made that area called as biodiversity hotspot. Okay, and they found that initially there were 25 biodiversity hotspots. They identified it and they named it. After that they found that 9 more have been added in the list, and it became total 34. Okay, and they called it as biodiversity hotspots that were in around all the worlds. Okay, not only India but around the world they made such hotspot, and total number became 34. Okay, three main hotspots which were found were between the Western Ghat and Sri Lanka. Okay, you have seen the Western Ghat. So in that patch where Western Ghat and Sri Lanka is there, that became the first hotspot. Okay, then the Indo-Burman and the Himalayas. Okay, all of them this became a hotspot area where the number of species or number of organisms were many, and they were finding that these organisms, their number was continuously decreasing. So they formed and they gave it a zone known as hotspots. So three hotspots basically in India. First was Western Ghat and Sri Lanka, second Indo-Burma, and third were Himalayas. Okay, so what they did in that region, the biodiversity hotspot put together cover less than 2% of the Earth's land area. The number of species they collectively harbor is extremely high, and the restricted protection for these hotspots could reduce the ongoing mass extinction by almost 30%. Okay, so they gave these areas, they protected these areas, and all the animals, all the species came into their natural habitat. They survived in that natural habitat. Okay. So in India, if we talk about India, we have approximately 90 national parks and 448 wildlife sanctuaries. Okay, and 14 biosphere reserves. Okay, so these were made by government and they protected as many species as possible. Okay, so this is in situ conservation. Now let's come to ex situ conservation. Okay, so conservation of plants and animals using modern techniques. What they are doing, they are using modern techniques like egg development in laboratories, care and release, zoos and conservation gardens, DNA barcoding and recreation. Okay, so now in this what they are doing is specifically they are dealing with a specific organisms only. Okay, and this includes your zoological parks, okay, botanical gardens, wildlife safari parks, okay, some laboratories. All these are coming under ex situ conservation. Okay, and in recent years ex situ conservation has advanced beyond keeping threatened species in enclosures. So they are keeping the threatened species enclosure. Okay, and now what they are doing is, now gametes of threatened species can be preserved in viable and fertile condition for long period using cryopreservation techniques. Eggs can be fertilized in vitro and plants can be propagated using tissue culture method. So nowadays a new techniques they are using, that is cryopreservation. What does this means? That those species who are threatened, okay, now we want to increase their number, so their sperms and eggs they will collect and they will preserve into areas or containers where the temperature is low, so that the particular process, that means the sperm and egg get saved, it will not be killed, and afterwards they can fertilize the eggs. Okay, so basically for sperms preservation they are using the cryopreservation technique, and the fertilization they can be do in vitro. Okay, and this is a technique which is nowadays available in vast areas where conservation is their main criteria. Okay, now you know that as we are conserving it, okay, nowadays seed bank, okay, like if we talk about plants, nowadays they are preserving the seeds, and that seeds which are preserved, they are preserved in banks, and it is a very common technique. Okay, so not only animal but along with them plants are also conserved, they are also protected. Okay, so with cryopreservation we can conserve not only plants but also animals. Okay, so in plant what will it be? It will be tissue culture method. Okay, and seed preservation, and in animals it will be for eggs and sperms where it will be protected by cryopreservation. Okay, and this is usually done in laboratories. Okay, so with this we have just finished with one more chapter. This is a very small chapter but still it's very important. Okay, so biodiversity as in knows no political boundaries, and its conservation is therefore a collective responsibility of all the nations. Okay, it is not that okay we have a boundary, so whatever animals and plants coming in our boundary we need to protect them. No, it is not like that. And because of this we have an earth summit. Okay, governments is signed a treaty called as Earth Summit held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992, called upon all nations to take approximate measures, okay, for conservation of biodiversity and sustainable utilization of its benefit. And most of the countries have signed this treaty and they are looking forward, okay, and they are really keeping a check on all the species. Okay, and a significant reduction of current rate of biodiversity loss at globe regional and local level is a threat. So this loss need to be maintained. Okay, we always need to increase them. The rate should not go down, the loss should not go down, the numbers should not get reduced. So this is a challenge for each and every citizen, for each and every nation, for each and every country. So we should conserve maximum and maximum of the species. Okay. Yes. So with this we have finished with the chapter, and from tomorrow, okay, again we'll start with a new chapter. Okay, so that will be chapter number 14, ecosystem. Again in ecosystem you have learned many things. Okay, you know about the decomposers, about food chain, food web, producers, decomposers. Okay, all these things you know, the NPP, GPP, but still I'll explain you. But whenever again I'm telling you, you are writing about ecology, okay, ecosystem or biodiversity or issues, always gives examples, state examples and write. So whatever examples given in your NCERT, just state them along with the definition and explanation. Okay, so with this I end today's lecture. Do your homework, study well and stay at home. Thank you.